and welcome to Stampscapes Late Night Live. This will be the last broadcast that I do for a couple days here on Thanksgiving break, vacation. I'll be going to see my mom for a couple days, 3 days. So I wanted to get to another scene here before I took off. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to use this 9-inch tree trunk because it's so insane to use and just so much fun. And try this in a total elongated slimline card. But when have we been able to do a tree trunk that, that could span that amount of space like that before, not with Stampscapes as far as a tree trunk goes. Some people have double stacked the tree trunk and flipped it over like that. But yeah, that should be kind of interesting in this type of format. This would be really great for a bookmark too. Hello, Travel Dreamer. It's a late night for you. Even later for you. But let's see what we can do here. Unless you're going to sleep right now. Okay, so I'm wondering if I should use this smaller trunk like back in here, or if I'd just go for a couple of these really large ones right here. Hello, Linda. I wanted to put this really small tree down here just to kind of, kind of emphasize the size of these ones here. So there would be some little bit of a fall foliage down here at the base, and I'd imagine like some light kind of hitting this little sparkly little yellow area down here amongst the giants. Whether that would exist out there in the, the real world, I don't know. Having a little bit of this aspen tree amongst sequoias, probably not, but, we do reference nature a lot, but we're not, enslaved by it. Maybe that's not the right word. Limited by it, okay? Okay, so anyways, I'm trying to think of a way to I'm running out of space here. I've got my mouse kind of falling all over the ground here with all these foamies and everything around. But I want to get a little bit of lighting down here on this aspen tree down here. So I'm thinking about doing a little bit of a base coat of a really light tone, and then I'll stamp over the top of it with the trees, the larger trees. So let me see. Let me get this one going first here. All right. Hello, Caroline Z. All right, so I don't know if I'm going to have my light source in here and kind of, reflecting down in here. Probably not, but let me see. Let me get my little bit of my bearings here. Okay, we'll go with something like this. And like I said, I might go with the larger one up top again. But I don't know, it wouldn't be bad to go with the smaller one as well. I just want to be sure and get this tree in here. And I might be able to get a little bit more of this tree a little bit lower in here if I go with the larger version of this, because I can stamp this a lot lower, like around here. And I just want to have this tree kind of peeking out from the background a little bit, from the back of this tree. That's my concept here as far as the composition. And then I want to use these little hikers like this, like hiking through, I don't know, this little national park or something like that type of thing. And I'll put some little fences around these trunks here. So, all right, so it's the colors here. It's the sequencing that I'm kind of uncertain about here. All right, so let me see. You can see I'm using my really fantastic state-of-the-art coloring tool here. otherwise known as a kitchen sponge. Cut up. I don't know, it's probably cut into, I'm guessing it was quarters or something like that. All right. Now what do I already have on my hand here? I must have touched, I touched something blue. I have some blue on my thumb here, so I'm getting my thumb imprints. All right, let's go with something like that. So there'll be a little bit of an opening for some light coming through. Let's go with a little bit more. I kind of want to make it kind of shaded, you know. I mean, if we're kind of amongst the trees in here, you know, I mean, in theory, there would be kind of a canopy of overhead kind of blocking out some of the light. So I just don't want it completely, you know, covered in, or completely open, I should say. Okay, so, and that's one of the things that you do, you know, if you're like in oil painting classes, a lot of times what you do is you just kind of go over your canvas with some sort of light wash and to give it some kind of irregular coating or varied coating of tone. And it's usually some kind of light tone like that. It doesn't matter if you're doing a warm scene or a cool scene. Even in cool scenes, I don't know, we often lay down a thin layer of something like a sepia, or some a tone like that, kind of a warmish tinge. That was using the peach Bellini, but something like the Distress Ink antique linen or old paper, if you have those would look really good too. Okay, so let's see here. Let's go and add in our foundation pieces now. And it's just, I'm going to try to go for the entire length of this. Okay, so this is 10.5 inches high. This is a 9.5 inch stamp right here. And I want to go for a pretty good portion of this, maybe a little bit over half, I'm thinking. Okay, I'm going to go with the hybrid ink again, I think. I'm trying to think. If I do a dye-based ink on this, I guess I can do that. And hopefully by the end of the inking process with the pad, it won't be like dry on the other end. That's why I'm thinking about going with this kind of thicker ink right here. If you're inking up like this with a dye-based pad, probably re-ink it before you do it. I don't know, because this is absorbent too, so you can't have anything that's too fast drying. Okay, now I think about that, like a StazOn ink. Someone said you can use StazOn, but maybe just don't do it with such a big pad, because you go like this, and by the time you get down here, that area up there, I mean, it could be dry, so I don't know. You'd have to work in like a moisture-filled environment, I think, if you're doing that potentially. Okay, let's see here. Boy, this is so big. All right, I'm switching my configuration of my blotter paper down here to vertical. And I'm not usually working in this super elongated format vertically. I mean, I have before, but it usually involves things like skies. If I want a lot of sky in my scene, and I'll put the landscape down here at, kind of rule of thirds or something like that, a third of the way in, and we'll go 2/3 sky. Or sometimes I go with water and I'll go 2/3 up here, with the whatever lakeside, pondside type of imagery just to get a lot of space in the base of it for the water area, but yeah, this one's going to be a little bit different. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how different, but I don't know. I think it's just going to be a different look for me. I mean, I just did one of these pieces on that big piece, but you know, kind of working around a composition that's so narrow that involves such kind of vertical kind of structuring. It's kind of interesting doing that. Okay, so if I go with this one a little bit lower like that, then I can stamp it lower, and this is 2/3. See, if I go in like this is like cutting it off like around halfway. I'm not sure if I like that. And I want to have that aspen tree kind of peering out from behind this one like this. Okay, okay, I'm going to use the large one again. Okay, I can use this one too, because they said that they're going to list this trunk. It wasn't offered, but I told them, I said, hey, that tree trunk's kind of insane. So they said, hey, that's fine, you know. They're going to list it. Art Foamies, by the way. Okay, so let's see. Let's go down about like so. I normally wouldn't put these trees so close together, but the scale distance relationship. I mean, if these are supposed to be like, I don't know, whatever, 100 feet, you know, types of tree trunks here, then the distance between these, I don't know, it could be like 20 feet. Okay, all right. It kind of gives I don't know, a different meaning to, I don't know, to, I don't know, I don't know what, scale, you know, card scale maybe. I just haven't seen it in stamping before like that. Okay, so let's see here. All right, so that is going to go like that down there. I thought that little, maybe I'll put that right up there like that. It's like this little destination thing, this little corridor kind of walking back into that like that. Let's see. Yeah, we'll go low with it. I don't want to go too high with it. Although that represents something farther back in the distance, we want it to kind of bring it a little bit lower like this for scale. And I don't know, to put it at the same distance as, or close to the same distance as this. So the base of these objects, whatever's on this level right here, vertically represents something that are, you know, objects that are at the same distance from one another. So let's go with that. And sometimes when I'm coloring this one in, it's occurred to me that I think I'm coloring it a little bit too dark. That's really too dark right there. That's a little bit of olive green. I just re-inked a bunch of these markers. I might have inked them up too much, and then I'm still storing them upside down. I should store them right side up after I've re-inked them because they're just way too juicy. But okay, so that being said, I'm going to do this one kind of light because I'm going to, most of the treatment on here is going to be done, the color treatments are going to be done with the paint markers. So sometimes what I've been doing is I've been going pretty dark on these, and then I've been bringing it back with light colored markers like the yellows and whites and a little bit of an orange, maybe some greens too. But I've been spending so much time bringing them to a lighter value from a darker base. And maybe I don't know, maybe I can expedite it. And I'm not sure. Sometimes I've thought I needed to do that, but maybe I don't. But I don't know, maybe that would be too light. Let me see here. No, I think that'll do it. Unless there was already tone on here. Okay, so here. This is my combination right here. A little bit of green down here. And a little bit going up and down like that. Let me see, I think it was actually this one right here. Olive brown. Okay. I just spent part of the day kind of discussing with someone via instant messenger on Facebook the different properties of Marvy inks, because they were working on something and then they were using Memento and distress inks, and they were said, hey, they were getting a lot of dull results. And I think they just meant in relation to some of the samples they've probably seen. And I just said, hey, that distress ink, it's supposed to be kind of aged looking, and Mementos are just the equivalent Memento inks. And I love Memento, okay? I like them for my kind of slightly more less kind of hot colors. And if they want to get that really kind of vibrancy into it, they need to find like a brighter ink. Now, Marvies are just the easy one to go with because they're like super bright. But I was just saying, she can add in with she had a blue tone scene, like a number 10 Marvy light blue, like this one that's super bright, into her mix of, she has tons and tons of, I guess, re-inkers already, and, she doesn't want to get a bunch of them. But the thing is, if you add in one of those Marvy inks, or if you have a bunch of oranges and a bunch of, reds and pinks or whatever, if you want like a brighter sunset range, then all you need to do is just add in one Marvy yellow 5 into that entire mix. So it's not like you're adding in like one color if you're layering your colors down. You are adding one color, but it's like you're extending the range of, I don't know, if she has, let's say she has, 8 other blue tones or something like that, and they're all kind of on the duller range. If you just add in one into the mix, it's like you're expanding the range of all of those colors because you're using those in conjunction with that Marvy tone, or just whatever color would be, nice and bright and rich, if you want to get that kind of top end of the vibrancy kind of spectrum. Okay. You are working with such large stamps while thinking of the rule of thirds. It is difficult while so narrow. Well, I don't know. It's just, it's the rule of thirds going vertically as well. So, I don't know. It's not too hard. But when you're working with a larger stamp, you can, you can alter that as well. So see, here's my rule of thirds here. See that right here? My little passageway is like, here's the third right here, here's the third right here, and it's entering right here. As opposed to just having this kind of uniformly open right here, where this one goes in more, and this one's a little bit less right here. And that's my third right there. Now going vertical, I don't know, I don't have it too much right here. This is probably about a third right here. Let me see. Yeah. That's about a third right here on this one. But I'm not trying to go, you don't have to put like everything down at the thirds level. Okay, so see right here, I didn't get like super close there, but we're just going to fill that in with some pens there. All right, so now I was thinking about adding this down here, but I'm not sure about this grassy texture in the base of these types of trees. So let's go with a little bit more of a texture. Where did my... where did my little tiny rock stamp go? Yeah. I'll find it where, oh, here it is right here. Okay, so this is the tiny rocks right here, and we're going to use that as a texture down here. Now this is going to get lost down here because I'm going to blend in a bunch of tones over the top of it, but this will be my base layer of this rock texture in here, okay? It'll kind of establish a little bit of the lighting in here too. So let's do the lighting, like coming like from this direction over here. Okay, so let's say the light source is kind of this way. So we'll put our shadows kind of going in this direction right here, I think, rather than like this. That would be a little bit awkward looking, I think. So we can think of it like this. So what I'll do is I'll use a little bit more of these textures like this down here, and down here we'll have a little bit of a slightly darker texture going from dark over here to lighter over here, leaving a little bit of corridor of light down here, and that'll be where kind of our little characters are walking in like that, or up here, maybe like right here, huh? Like something like that. Doesn't that look kind of dramatic? I laugh because, I don't know, I'm thinking, this is like a, you know what I mean? It's like a bookmark that we're doing, how it's like a, it's not like high drama of life or something like that. But I guess for, relatively speaking, for this little format here, it's supposed to be like a little tranquil little piece of whatever. So, not super dramatic. Okay, so see that right there? You can use these little texture stamps for lighting and shadow. So I'm adding this over in the darker area, and by the time I get over here, it's fairly dry. And going back to that comment on the rule of thirds too, you can kind of emphasize, those little compositional types of things too with different textures and things like that. So yeah, don't be too, you know what I mean? You don't have to do the rule of thirds on everything. Like I said, there's other types of compositional structuring that we can do on something like this. It would be interesting to do some sort of format where you just have that trunk going right up the center like that, and then you have like a quote stamp down here. I think that would be really cool. So that's more of this kind of pyramidal type of structuring. And I do that. Oops, I had this sideways there. I do that once in a while. I really like kind of this. Yeah, I don't know. It's like a triangular kind of structuring, especially if I'm going for something like I don't know, like an eyeball in the sky or something like that. Something real, kind of like a real focal point. Sometimes it's a moon, something like that. Okay, let's see. Let me get this kind of going like that. All right. Okay, now remember, a lot of this texturing is not going to look like that because I'm going to tone in here and bring in some extra shadows. But again, this kind of gives me a little bit of a head start and kind of an idea on how this area is going to look, tonally speaking, I guess, maybe. So, as you can see, as you're applying this, don't look at it as a kind of a final type of shadow scheme, texture scheme, color scheme, value scheme, all that type of stuff. It's just this kind of preliminary Oh, I don't know. You know how we do base coats of colors down here? You can kind of think of this as like a base texture coat or something like that. And this one's using walnut stain here, okay? So let me get my bearings here as far as lighting goes. Okay, kind of coming across here like that. Oops. So I've even gone vertical with it a couple times on accident. All right, I think that will do it there. Okay. All right, so I made a mistake last time. Oh, I don't know. It's not really a mistake, but as far as the layering of my colored pencils went, I didn't add in enough of my whatever dominant colors before I laid down too much of the colored pencils, so I just couldn't add in, like, for example, any more red-ish tones onto my, redwood sequoia-ish trunk. So I need to add in, and I couldn't get very much, darker at a certain point to add in my shadow work. So I'm going to add in some of my more dominant colors first and then go over the top of that. So that's what I learned with that. And if you just, I don't know, if you haven't watched a lot of my videos in the past, I don't use a lot of colored pencils. I've just kind of recently started using those. So, yeah, I need to learn all of those kind of basics like that. Hello, Marta. It's 1:47 in Maine there. What are you doing up? Yeah, it's good to see you, Marta. Always enjoy seeing our anyone from anywhere, but Maine, has that special place in my whatever nature-loving heart. All right, so I'm going in and I'm adding in some of this walnut stain here, okay, because I just know that this, the one side of this tree is going to be darker anyway, so I'm just going to give myself a little bit of a head start there, and it will also include some of the, these types of warm tones in here that I'm going to be applying with other media. That takes a little bit longer to do, so why not just get a good base coat down using just something that's faster, And it's making the inks of this black here, which is probably still a little bit wet, a little bit muddy, but who cares? You're not going to be able to see it anyway, because I'm going to, it's going to be buried in a lot of colored pencil work, so, we don't need to worry about that. It'll just look like tone or something like that. Okay, so this side of this tree, I'm going to leave a little bit lighter. All right. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should tone it in, but maybe I'll get it with the colored pencil just to kind of emphasize this one a little bit more. You can see that's really kind of getting that area up there. Remember, this was the second impression here, so this one's still a little bit wet, I think. It was wetter than this one right here. Okay, and then putting a little bit down here to emphasize that shadow work. And down here, it's a little combination of this walnut stain and black on here, so we'll get some of this down here, and we'll come into this area down here, which is going to be shaded as well. Okay, then this is where we start to lose some of that little bit of texturing. In terms of it, it's just not going to be standing out as much because I'm cutting down the contrast between that tone and the background. I'm not blending that out very well there, though. I think it's, I don't know, it could be that black up there. It's just not kind of like wiping across very easily. I mean, it is a hybrid ink, so it's a little bit more. When I use these hybrid inks to blend, maybe I should. I'll blend with some of that ink too. This one I haven't done that for a while, but when I use this and I blend that in, it feels like I'm using some sort of like a oil pastel or something like that. That's what it feels like to me. Someone asked what hybrid inks are. As far as I know, it's a combination of oil pigments and water-based dye inks. That's what I've been told. If someone knows differently or has heard differently, I don't know. Let me know. Definitely not an authority on hybrid inks. And I asked Moon and the Baker, who sells those. I said, "Hey, what exactly is a hybrid ink?" And she said that the manufacturer for those didn't tell, or won't tell her, or didn't tell her. Proprietary, I don't know, information, I guess, or something like that. But you know, we the manufacturer should probably say so that we know what the thing's going to be compatible with. So that's interesting. It says waterproof and permanent, and it's also acid free and fade resistant. So I wonder if that's with all the colors though. Huh. The fade resistant thing aspect of it kind of surprises me. I don't know. Are pigment inks? Pigment inks aren't fade resistant, are they? If they are, that's kind of a nice bonus. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, you gotta get in that little kind of lighting corridor there, I guess, right? All right, and I want to put a little bit more time in with the dye-based ink, so I'm not spending too well. I don't know. Maybe there's no way around it, but I don't want to spend like just a huge amount of time with the colored pencil applications. Okay, adding in a little bit of tone from the top right here. I think that's kind of giving it a nice, I don't know, like a little curtain of light maybe. That. Yeah, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to put up here, but if I just put up something like that, then that works, taken care of, kind of, if you have something like a real narrow word stamp or something like that might be interesting if you can pair it with this this theme or whatever of this piece, maybe. I have this one that says like, in between two pines is another world or something like that. But I think that one's a little bit too wide for this one. Maybe not. I wouldn't put it in here, but I'm just saying, for example, quote that's something like that might be kind of interesting, or if you have something that has anything to do with time or something like that, I think that this type of theme right here would be kind of interesting about that. Not that that tree is, a smaller version of this or something like that. Okay, so let's see. I have my pencils out still that I used on my Sequoia piece from the other day. Not that it would be hard to pull these ones out again, but let's go in and add some of these tones in here. Let me grab this other red one here too. And I'm going to do my black work first. I'm not used to working with that. I'm used to working the other way around, working from light to dark when I use transparent media. But, the waxy colored pencils, it's a different type of substance, so you can't just layer and layer and layer forever. You're going to get super saturation there. So, yeah. But where'd I go there? insomnia night. There it is. Marta's having an insomnia night. Just listen to my voice here, and Marta, I'll put you right to sleep. I've heard. All right. Let's see. I haven't used distress oxides before, Caroline. Someone just brought that up. I need to because I've seen some really super bright tones being achieved with the oxides. I usually see it in that fashion where they lay it down and they do that kind of spray, kind of spattering with that water reactive type of texturing that happens with that. But then I saw one time someone just did some scene, I don't know what it was, like deeply saturated, like sunset types of looks or something like that. And I thought, okay, that, there was a really deep saturation of some color. I don't remember what it was, but then I said, I asked them, I said, what ink pads did you use there? And they told me it was the Distress Oxide. So I don't know if there's multiple brands of those or not, but that's what they said. So yeah. Okay. When I was in Maine, I was talking with the class participants out there, and I don't know, they were just talking amongst themselves too, and they were talking about some blackouts that they've had out there. Or I think they were talking about a blackout, maybe that they had recently or something like that. Yeah, we lost power, for, a few days, and it was like during the winter time, and they were just saying, it was like matter of fact, it was like, oh yeah, we can lose power for like 2 weeks at a time or something like that. For some reason, I seem to recall 2 weeks. Maybe it was a week, but it was definitely a week out there in Maine. I thought to myself, I'm never complaining about the weather again. It was just like matter of fact. I thought, oh, out here in the like Southern California, we're just we're too wimpy. But I was thinking, well, maybe, I don't know, maybe in Southern California, maybe we could take the heat better though. Until someone acclimates, of course. Okay, so adding in those tones like that, but you see that? That's, I think, I guess, I'm trying to think if I was able to get darker than that on my other piece. Well, there it is right there. Let me see. Okay, so this is my piece from the other day. See, I just could not get any darker, I don't think, the more I used on here, because the paper kind of achieved super saturation, although it did look like it got a little bit darker. But at some point in time when I was applying some of this media over the top of it, it's like when I was rubbing this in here, there was such a buildup of that colored pencil on there already. As I was doing this, it was like removing some of the black that I was just applying because it was just super saturated. I was like scraping off. I was scraping off, this wax on there. So that's why I'm doing this first. And then someone told me they said, yeah, I don't know if they mentioned like a person or something like that, but they said, yeah, some people just do all their grayscale first, their shadow work and everything like that in colored pencil. And then they, add the whatever toning, specific color changes after that. Okay, so this being said, what I need to do here is I need to decide on final kind of stamp impressions too. I can't go with too much of the colored pencil work down in here. Like if I'm going to add something else down here, I was thinking about adding this this small fence around here just to give things a little bit of scale. Okay. You know, like it's like a national park or something like that. And I'll have these characters kind of walking in here. And this will maybe add a little bit of a visual lead in, you know, with these fences like this and like this. Then we have this kind of natural kind of corridor right here. We've kind of created a corridor right here of light, but maybe doing it a little bit more physical I thought would be interesting. So let me do that right now. Let's go ahead and use the same. Here's the thing about this. If I add this down right here, right now, then I can't go over it because that image is going to be there. And I'm going to be blurring it out a little bit with all that extra tone down there. Okay, I'm going to do this later on, but I'll just do it with the stays on, because stays on will stick to the wax. So let's wait to do that. But, okay, so I'm going to add these little characters down here right now, though. Because I'm not going to do too much in this area to leave it nice and light and airy like that. Okay. I have too many different types of media on my desk now. It's hard to find things at times. You know, doing the these foamies, and then the like the holographic vinyls. And okay, so speaking of that, this surface right here is semi-gloss. I don't think I mentioned that. Coated semi-gloss cardstock. All right, and I'm wiping off a little bit of the shadow area just so it doesn't stamp out quite as black. Oh, it'll be a little bit more gray. Okay, down right at the base here. Okay. And let's go about, how about them right here? Wouldn't that be kind of dramatic, like right down here as that lead-in for the background? Now that I'm putting them right there, I'm not sure if I want the fences. Yeah, we'll see how it goes here. All right. It kind of gives it a little bit of scale, doesn't it? All right, let's go back in with the black here, and let's establish this a little bit more. I'm not even sure how dark I want things with this black, but I'll get it started here in this initial coating layer. And if I want to later on, and if I can, if it'll take more ink, I'll go back in and tone it in. Or like I said, I might even use the same ink right here and just go right over the top. And again, if it'll take it, sometimes, you know, when you're applying, you know, certain types of inks over, you know, a waxy surface that you've applied with the pencil, I don't know if it'll apply on there or not. So still learning all the time, and sometimes remedial aspects of certain media still. Like if I got the oxides, I wouldn't know what to do with them, you know. I'd be starting from scratch. Not that I'm against that. I plan on getting some at some point in time. So hit that like button, you know, so I can one of these days save up enough to get some oxide inks. All right, so that is that. We got some nice shadow work in there. Hopefully I didn't put in too much black where the colors won't apply. And I don't know if I'm gonna go with the like a real reddish tinge of for these probably represent sequoia trees if it was going to represent anything that actually exists here. But oh, speaking of that, I need to go into the red, huh? And then I'll go over that later on. I'm not used to working in this kind of process right here of the kind of those deeper, darker tones initially. See, that looks really weird like that with that red. But I needed to get that established because I just couldn't get red anymore, on that piece that I did earlier in the week. It wouldn't take it anymore. So maybe we need to get this down here. But like I said, I don't know if I want to get this like super red. I want some browns to kind of contrast against this tree here in the background, because that's going to be more of the focal point than these. These are just kind of more, I don't know, kind of framing. It's like natural frames or something like that for the for the real kind of focal point of the scene. People also use the oxides like regular inks pads. Yeah, that's the ones that the other ones I like that look of the kind of that watery active look, but I really liked the thing that really caught my eye with those oxides were the just direct coloring with them and layering with them and getting that super deep color saturation. I loved it, because there's a lot of pads out there just like whole lines sometimes. Typically you want some variation within your line, of course. You want light and dark for sure. You want the hues, just different colors, and all the, whole spectrum of color. But then you want value, light and dark. But then you also want a little bit of bright and dull, okay? And that one for me, now I don't look for that in distress inks because I assume that distress inks are supposed to look aged, so I don't expect there to be kind of the brighter end of the spectrum in the distress inks, because that wouldn't look distressed. It would look, it would look new, In the distress inks, I think they're supposed to look aged, so it kind of goes against that concept of distressed if it's super bright. But the other pads out there, I just wish there were, it's kind of that top end of about maybe 15% of brightness that I'm not finding in a lot of different lines out there, where you kind of have to supplement them with other inks, to get that top end. I don't want everything to be super bright that I'm doing either, but I want to have the ability to go into those brighter tones if I want to. So that's what I want to see in, I don't know, whatever different brands and lines out there. I think that would really, because you can always dull out a bright tone, but you can't make a duller tone brighter. It's only going to be, if you take two kind of like middle range brightness colors, and if you put them together, it doesn't make for a brighter tone by the combination of them. If it's like a 50% brightness range, which is different than lightness, okay, it's brightness. It's going to be, the top end of it is going to be what, the maximum brightness achieved there. So two 50% make a, 50% brightness, maximum brightness. Okay, but speaking of that, I was trying to think, why am I talking about that? It's because the distressing, the oxides. I saw that some one of those oxides one time, and I thought, hey, those oxides, the way someone used them on something, it was right up there in terms of some of the brighter tones that I've seen. Unless someone like jacked up their saturation in their photo before posting or something like. I don't think they did. Hello, Caroline. Or did I already say that? Okay. Let's see. Linda was saying, used to think glossy was the only cardstock to scenic stamp with all the media changes. Yeah, I'm with you there. The coated matte will accept just about anything, yeah, including the watercolors. Watercolors, pastels, chalks, to some extent. I mean, it just depends on which ones we're using. The softer the media, dry media, the more, like a semi-gloss will take. So, yeah. But I don't know. I like these colored pencils too. The colored pencils have been a really nice addition for me. I mean, I've always thought that I could use those in the past, but I was always going for that brighter range of potential there. Like I said, on glossy cardstocks, you can use a lighter version of a really bright tone. So I don't know. That's why I used it. When you're working on matte papers, even when you're using like a really bright color, it absorbs into the paper more. So you don't have that potential like maximum range of a certain color on a matte. But, I like the aesthetics of matte too. But I just wanted to have more of a kind of a saturation range choice when it came to whatever the execution of certain types of scenes. But yeah, I'm with you now. We're using so many more things in here. The paint pens, um, things like that. That's really changed the way I kind of approach my choice of papers too. One of the things that too, I mean, it's not any insignificant thing. I mean, speaking of that, Linda, even you in, so close to the U.S. I mean, it's like the glossy cardstock. It's not that easy to obtain. I think that glossy cardstock, people used to get that anywhere, okay? New Zealand, Australia, wherever, anywhere in Europe, okay? People carried it, stores carried it. Um, but now with the absence, not absence, but there's just with fewer and fewer stores out there, and I don't know, kind of this knowledge base of where people were acquiring the different types of papers that were being used all the time. I don't know. I just, I'd rather use the types of things that are just more readily available for everyone, wherever they are. Especially now, we're doing these live broadcasts. We have people kind of tuning in from anywhere, on the internet to watch, whatever. And it's like, you know, paper towels. You don't have to get the color box stylus tool. Not that we ever needed it, but cotton balls and paper towels and colored pencils, pastels would be great. You know what I mean? It's just I'm pretty sure you can get those types of things anywhere. Now, when it comes to like inks, though, you know what I mean? I mean, there's still kind of I don't know, whatever availability issues when it comes to that, and especially with these different companies also kind of disappearing too, like Marvy. And it's like, can we get how long are we going to have access to things like Brilliant Sinks? I hope for a long time, but I don't know. All right, so kind of coming along here. That's a little bit too reddish right there, but I have all like these colors to lay down over the top of it, like orange and yellow. I'm not sure how that's going to look though, you know? Like I said, I usually build it up from the lighter tones, um, but I just felt I had to get that red in there. Okay, so going with the orange over the top of it. Uh, they're called redwoods, but they're not like cherry red or something like that, you know. Um, Ferrari red. I don't know. Does anyone not have colored pencils out there? Even if you have like a set of like, like 10, does everyone, I don't know, does everyone have some colored pencils from some point in time? I don't know how many people are using them these days. I've had comments that some people say, yeah, they use them all the time. But I think by and large, um, I don't see them used. I haven't seen them used too much over the last, what, I don't know, quite some time. I mean, there might be some people that, that are almost like specialize in that. That's one of their favorite mediums. In my swap group, there's some people that use, a couple people that use colored pencils quite a bit. When do you see the paper issues to improve? I don't know, Travel Dreamer. A lot of the paper issues you're talking about, the supply issues right now, like the pulp, uh, paper pulp kind of shortages that are going on right now. I This happened before all of these different types of sourcing issues happened. There's just less printing going on these days, with the internet and whatever, catalogs. It's all those types of things like that, like Sears catalogs. How many different types of catalogs used to get sent out there all the time? J. Crew, and all those mail order companies. They're just, not out there. And who's the dominant, type of player these days? Like Amazon. And, Amazon doesn't like send out a catalog, for anything. Mailers and all that type of thing. Hardback books, bookstores are going out, and that was all, like book covers and things like that, calendars, So it was that type of issue going on. I just think there was just less, like Chrome Coat went out of business like 10 years ago or something like that. It's been quite some time. The Chrome Coat's out there these days, but it's CTI that has it. It's no longer the Chrome Coat company. I have some of the semi-gloss cardstock by a paper called company called Appleton. I think it was Appleton, Wisconsin, is where they were located. They've been long gone too. What kind of weight of glossy paper do you use? Okay, so Caroline, the difference between, and someone just sent this to me recently. They found Chrome Code online, and it was cheaper than what was listed, I think, on maybe Amazon or the paper mill, I think, .com or something like that. Okay. Which I think is the retail store outlet for CTI papers, I think. But the difference between a ream of 200 sheets of glossy 10 point and 12 point was only like $5. So if you're spreading that $5 across 200 sheets, that's the one to go with. I use for my glossy cardstock, I use 10 point because that's what I bought a bunch of paper at one point in time. I was going and teaching everywhere too, so I just bought like a couple cases of glossy, And I just bought it right off the shelf at Kelly Paper, and the ones that they sold off the shelf were 10 points. So I just bought it, because I didn't want to wait for it to come in like, a day later, you know, because that's how fast they got it in. But I would have had to go back there. Okay, so I have a ton of that, but I'm kind of set for life. But all that being said, I would have preferred my glossy cardstock to be thicker. Okay, you know what I mean? And it would have cost me, like, back then when I bought it, it probably was like $2 or $3 more per ream or something like that. It was just, you know, it was quite reasonable. The reams of paper that I, bought back then were probably $20. They're probably closer to $30 now. Although some people, recently found it for like $25. But if you don't have a source kind of nearby, then shipping on a ream of paper is really expensive because, you know, it's bulky and it's very heavy, and they have to put a little bit of padding in there too. Otherwise, you're going to get a ream of paper and it's going to be all dented up. So it has to go in off in a box, with some padding in it. So I don't know. It's not out of the question for shipping on one ream of paper to be $25 or something like that, even though it would fit in a medium priority flat rate box. But a lot of those different types of companies like that, they don't ship U.S. mail because they're mostly shipping to printers and things like that. So printers are ordering massive amounts of things, and you know they just don't ship that type of bulk via U.S. mail. So the places that offer those types of things, it's they might have a kind of a retail kind of service, open, they'll send out to anyone in the public, but their majority of their sales aren't by the ream, like Kelly Paper, for example. All right, so that being said, if you're out here in the West, go out to Kelly Spicers and check it out. Spicers, Kelly, I don't know, whatever. Okay, let's see here. Glossy responds better with certain ink pads. It can. Okay. So glossy, if you're layering down a lot of tones, if you're going with the Marvies only, they don't fade out. I shouldn't say fade out. Okay. Other pads, if you lay down a ton of colors over one another, where you have like 3 layers of, I don't know, dye-based inks, it'll dry dull with a dull sheen on it. So it's good to spray seal it, and you'll get that nice vibrancy going that it looked like when it was freshly applied and wet. Okay, not a coated matte. I haven't tried it. Okay, I ordered glossy from Amazon, Canada, and really nice smooth matte arrived. That's interesting. Huh. Wish there were more colors for brilliance. Caroline, I'm with you there. Although I only have the metallics and the black and white. But I did want this really kind of pale blue one that looked beautiful to me. But Imagine Crafts already had stopped selling it. Or they only had it in like that little cat's eye size. And that for me, I don't like those little cat's eye size ink pads. I mean, they're good if you want to get something, you want to kind of find out what colors you want, then maybe you go with a larger pad. But yeah, there was this really awesome blue. Like I said, I keep saying that on all these lives here, but I don't know. I am kind of concerned about the availability of like the black and white brilliance. As long as that black and white brilliance is out there, I'm good. I think they should keep it. If they are going to discontinue, I hope they don't discontinue the black and white. I hope it's just certain types of colors. I can't imagine they're selling very many of the other colors because a lot of people just don't know about brilliance ink pads at all. They've just been out there for too long. Those of us that have them, how many of us have been using them. I mean, I'm one of those people that, I hadn't been using mine. Mine was like a dry black pad. I don't think I had a white one. No, I did. I had a black and white one. The white one I used periodically. The black one I hardly ever used. In fact, I never used it until I started working on the metallic papers, the iridescent papers, like the Star Dreams, and then I started working on the silver and gold foil, and it was like, oh, these brilliance pads are, you know, they're pretty good to have, just in terms of whatever media compatibility, media surface compatibility. It just they worked on things that other things didn't work on. Okay, so adding that down. So I guess that let's take a look and see what the difference is here. Okay, so that's kind of the more of the tone that I wanted. So here, okay, so I guess going with and I think that is a little bit darker there too, right? From here to here. And you can see right here. I don't know if you can tell. I guess I gotta put it up like that. It's merging right in there. Here. There's less of a... Yeah, there's a richer tone like that with the red here, huh? Okay, so colored pencils. I'm gonna have to make a mental note. Kind of the dominant color, even if it's a darker tone, I got to lay that down first and lay the other colors over the top of it. That looks a lot richer to me. So I don't know, that's kind of a weird concept to me still, thinking about building it from, in this case, kind of a darker tone. The dark shadowy areas to the red and going like orange and, and it's yellow from there. And it's kind of weird. Because it's the opposite of what I usually do with, that I've been doing with inks for years now. And I'm just going to have to try to remember that. All right. Caroline Z has colored pencils. I think everyone has colored pencils, right? Okay, I'm with you. I miss catalogs too. Linda's not fond of pencil crayons. I'm trying to think if I have any of those. You mean those stick ones that are just completely the pigment, right, or whatever, without the wood around it. Okay, so let's add a little bit more warmth to our shadow areas in here, okay? Oops. Somewhere along the line, I kind of put my hand right there and I smeared that little kid's head. It looks like now it looks like their hair is blowing in the wind. Okay, now see this area down here? Do you see that little warmth? This color is adding to it. So this is what I meant about, layering a lot of these tones in these areas to come. Back when I was doing the tiny rocks right here. So this area is looking, pretty decent right here, but this area right here really needs addressing right here. It's kind of this boring, kind of blotchy area right here, but that's where we'll add in those contrasts, additional textures. I went with one tone of ink on this rock stamp, but what we'll do is this will get darker over here, and then we'll use multiple tones or values to stamp this out too. So it'll be going from darker impressions over here to lighter impressions, but using darker inks too, not just one color like that. But yeah. Okay, so going back to that whole thing about paper, a lot of these paper companies, they've just been going out of business for a long time. A lot of the printing has is different too. I mean, there used to be kind of like printers all around town, like independent ones down here. I don't know if it's a national chain, but there was like a Sir Speedy, and they'd be printing out catalogs for people and whatever. Some of them, I think that was a national chain, but I think they were independently owned. So they were like a company that printed out one of my catalogs one time. I had this other company, Beacon Printing, that was right in Huntington Beach when I was in there. And they printed out one of my catalogs, but just a private printing company. But I think all those places are gone. One time I had to have business cards made when I was in college. Um, and I don't know, or did we have to? I don't know if I had to, but for my senior show, um, illustration show, I had to, people were, coming up with their business cards to pass them out. And I just had my business card, printed up by a local printer, just a short run of a couple hundred pieces or something like that. But these days, all that type of stuff, I don't know where, I get stuff done on Vistaprint now, and that's been quite some time. But I think sometimes my Vistaprint orders been. I think now it's all domestic here, but sometimes, occasionally, when I'd order from them, I think it was printed up in Canada of all places. I thought, what on earth, is it being printed in Canada? You think the shipping cost alone would be prohibitive, and then there's like import uh, fees and all that type of thing. But it's just this consolidation of the printing that's still being done. It's just, I don't know, it's just really different. Okay, so anyways, all that stuff trickles down to us because that coated cardstocks, glossy cardstock is a professional paper that's usually not utilized by the consumer in its raw form. We get it in the form of bookmarks and book covers and movie posters and business cards and signs and all that. But the consumers usually isn't buying that type of thing. It's all industry. So a lot of that type of stuff is just, I don't know, it's just, there's just less availability of it. But if you're in the US, it's still, relatively easy to get. I mean, you can order it. We just have to pay for shipping. All right, so I'm anchoring this one down a little bit more. I'm bringing some of this black from here down into here. And one of those things, the darker you go in whatever area of your pieces, the lighter the light areas are going to seem by contrast. So if you want something that light over here, you can make this darker right here, but you don't have to make it right. It could be right over here or something, just anywhere in your scene. All right, I think that will do it. This is looking pretty, reasonably dramatic, I think, with those longer trees like that. If you don't have those long trees, some people, a lot of people in the past have just taken the tree trunk, which is about this big, the 4.5, the Stampscapes one, and they stamp it that way, and they just flip it over, re-ink, and then stamp it up there, so it continues this tree. So this can be done, if you don't have the foamy. Let me see. So this was 10.5. So this is, yeah, this is like, yeah. So this is like, it'd be like roughly 9.25 by 9, 4.25 by 4.25. So 8.5, so not quite 9 inches, but you know, you're getting pretty close to this type of thing right here with that flipped usage of the tree trunk. All right, and we'll add in some shadow work at the base of the hikers like this, and we'll kind of go in that same kind of general direction of the shadows coming out from this way, okay, and this way over here. It's kind of, I switched it, it isn't quite coming in from over there anymore. Like this shadow would have been like that. It's kind of a little bit more like this now. Because I didn't want, I don't know, I just don't want to bring this shadow area. That would have been too much shadow right here. You know, so I've kind of bent it a little bit. Maybe it's like curving around this way. But we'll give this a little bit of that kind of general direction here. So you go a little bit darker, oops, right around the characters like that. And then you just kind of, okay, that was a little bit of brown. Then I'm kind of doing a little bit of black here. And you kind of taper it off as it moves away from them. So a little bit darker. At the, I don't know, whatever the source of the shadow, I guess. All right, something like that. Checking my hand here, sometimes right around here, doing all that work. So I picked up some of the black off of that. Oh, good morning to Tina. I didn't see that there. Donna, pencils and wood around pigment crayons are usually wax that are used by children. Think Crayola. I need to try to rest. I enjoy seeing you live. Good night, Caroline. Hope you can sleep well. All right, let's see here. All right. Kind of some nice grandeur. I haven't even gotten to my my tree there yet, but I want I want to bring in some of those nice bright tones in here. Let me go with the, I'll start off with these ones right here. Okay, so these are the 3mm paint pens. I'm trying to decide if I want something up here. I guess I'll decide after. Hey, you know, there'd probably be some other trunk in the background or something like that, but I just, you know, this is light in here and I don't want to mask this off and have another tree trunk in the background. I think it would get in the way. It would cut the contrast between, if I had another trunk in the back. I mean, I do it in much lighter tone, so it's a little bit recessed, but I don't know, I think it would get in the way of this right here. Kind of the negative space in here. I think we need that kind of open like that. Maybe bring in a little bit more color up here or something like that to make it a little bit richer. Okay, so this is the thing that's also going to see that kind of that watercolory type of little thing right in here, and I'll be able to get closer to this tree using this. Or here, let me do this here too. Let me take this and just fill this little area in right here. Okay. That worked out nicely. I'm not worried about this paint pen over the top of wax. It usually applies over just about anything. So, okay, so that area filled, or this pencil filled in that little blank area where I overmasked that out. And let's go into this right here. Okay, so the tree in the background. Let me see, I'll utilize some of this darker tone in here. So that'll be my shadow area, and the lighting is kind of coming from the background. So I'll try to go a little bit more light dominant on the left-hand side, maybe. Now I'm not utilizing the full 3mm point of this. I'm just kind of lightly dabbing it, you know, to give myself a smaller dot right now. If I want to go a little bit larger, I will, but I'm just going to start it fairly a fairly light application. Okay, now here's this. There's two trees on this aspen stamp. Wherever it went. Oh, here it is right here. Okay, so I'm going to put, it'll be light over here, and then it'll kind of transition to dark. So I'm going to put another light area right here, making it look like this tree is in front of this other one, okay? And that'll just work out a little bit for the lighting scheme in this scene right here anyway. Okay, now this pen, did I shake this up? I can't remember. I shook this up here. It's really kind of just kind of blending into that background, which isn't a bad thing at first, but I need more opacity in there to build up that lighting on that tree. Travel dreamer, get a good night's sleep there. That's not going to be very much sleep there, but don't go into dream debt. I wish I had like an ochre version of it. Or maybe I do. Maybe I do have an ochre in the smaller pens. All right, so there's a little bit of that tone. I don't know if you can tell right now, because that yellow is not, you know, tremendously lighter than that the background kind of ochreish color. It looks ochre, but that ink color from Marv is called brilliant yellow. I don't know, maybe it's because I re-inked it. It looks like it's like super dark. I don't know why it got darker. It only gets as dark as that color, but or it should. Okay, so this one's a little bit more of a duller, lighter yellow. Okay. And I won't go too crazy with that one. Let me see what I have here. Okay. See, the color that I want sometimes, like a lighter brown, like a beige in these, but not like a super light beige. Like this one's like a peach right here. But this set of 42 right here, I get fooled sometime because I think that a color that I'm looking for, I think I grabbed the pen out, but it's really gold, you know. But I don't. Yeah, see, this one's metallic right here. Well, okay, let me use a little bit of that in here. It'll only look reflective under certain light. Okay, so I want to add some of this kind of in the darker side of the tree maybe, or on the bottom side of some of these branches, or whatever, leaf clusters. Okay, that is that. And then I'll layer it again. But let me see here too. I want to go in with a little bit of we'll hit it with a little bit of green. There's a little bit of greenish tinge in there anyway. I'm going to make it out to Maine one of these days again, Marta. I have to hike Acadia again. But I don't want it swarming with people, though. I don't know if it's swarming with people like on just a, like a weekday, off-season weekday or something like that in full color, but okay, this is a little bit of a kind of a dull, oh, I don't know what color it is. It's like a melon green or something like that. I'm spending a little bit of time on this tree because it is the kind of the focal point of this scene right here. So we do want it to stand out, a decent amount. Okay, here's a kind of a real bright yellow. These smaller pens are 0.7 millimeter pens. Oh, this one's giving me a nice, light, bright, kind of canary yellow. So hopefully it doesn't kind of darken up too much. I expect it to, because they always seem to when they dry. But if I can get a little bit of contrast going in terms of, some decent saturation and a lighter value, I think that'll be good, because it really kind of makes these kind of deciduous trees kind of give it a, take on a nice shimmery look. All right, I think that should do it. This one has that darker area, so let me kind of break that up a little bit. It had that kind of real watercolory type of grain right down there, so I'm going to break that kind of that band of kind of dried liquid up a little bit like that. Okay, so it's just less apparent like that. Yeah, maybe going into a little bit more. All right. I normally wouldn't do that, but like I said, it is kind of the focal point of the scene, so. Okay, let's see. White right here. I clogged my white pen up a little bit by using it in a... Okay, that's flowing again. I was using it over, I think that hybrid ink or something. So it kind of went up in the tip and it kind of dried when I was using it the other day. Okay, so let's see. We're going to give this kind of more of a white trunk. And I work it upside down like this because it's just easier for me to get a little bit of a streak like that. Okay, this thing's like... I kind of have to keep this, or keep getting it flowing again. Okay, let me see here. Kind of. What's not helping me now is there's such a buildup of paint on this that's kind of wet, so it's kind of going up into the, I can tell it's going up into the barrel. I need this flowing a little bit more. See, this pen is probably, it's starting to run out of paint here because I use it so much. Okay, adding in some branches. So, all right, that's all I'm going to do with that one. And then we'll go in and just kind of smooth that out a little bit with some more foliage over the top of the branch. A little kind of skeletal kind of white, you know, trunk in there. Gives a little bit of structure and form. Okay. And I'm wondering if this is the time to add a little bit down here, if I want to add a little bit more color down there. Let's add a little bit of color. I didn't really give this tree like any shadow at all underneath it. So if these people right here are casting a shadow, then it makes sense that, you know, and everything else is casting a shadow. Then you got to kind of give, you know, that same type of I don't know, whatever approach to all the different forms. Okay, a little bit of trunk. Oh, okay, here's out here. I usually don't come in with black, but I'm giving it a little bit of a on the trunk in there too. Like that. That's almost too dark now. I took out too much of the white there. So let's add that white back on there again. If I can get this flowing enough. There we go. Okay, I'm trying to think what else we might use in here. I'm still thinking about those fences, but I'm not sure. Let me do something about this kid's hair. It's blowing in the wind. I'll just black it or white it out with some white paint here. It's a little bit of color underneath there, but the white will be a little bit translucent, so I don't think you'll be able to see it. And there goes the smear. So you can use these as kind of like your little correctional pen too. Okay, let's add a little bit of a corridor of lighting in here. All right. So I'll add some highlights using, okay, I didn't shake this up at all, using some colored dots. Okay, so I'll use some white and some beige in these areas. Those will help to hide some of my little blunders by using that tiny rocks vertical in here too. Add some little bit of highlighting to certain objects as well. Like this little area right here goes off into light. You can kind of bring a little bit of lighting to it like that. There's some of these little areas on the trees, kind of facing the light. You can illuminate them like this. I'm not going there in summertime, Marta. I'm going to avoid that time. I want to go there in full color again. I don't remember when that was. I think it's whenever that convention used to be in Maine that they used to have in they used to have it in Augusta, with all the retailers there. And I thought it might have been in September or something like that. Like oftentimes when I was in Maine, I think it was like in the ops, it wasn't in the summertime, I don't think. Because the place that I was staying at, it was like post, summer. Like I'd be the only one staying in the the whole motel there. Sometime. I think in both times. Both times when I was teaching in West Rockport, I stayed at this place. Yeah, oh God, Glen Cove Motel, and I think one time I was the only one there. And the next time it might have been the same thing, but maybe even less people. Um, but uh, not complaining. I loved it, having like all of Acadia to myself. Although I did this one trail called the Precipice Trail, and well, I was gonna say if I fell off that thing, I'd be dead anyway. So it wasn't like you know, anyone being around would have helped, but um, having that whole trail to myself was really amazing. I think it was I don't know, it's one of the main trails out there. I don't know if a lot of people do it though, because it's, there's a lot of like sheer kind of drop offs. There's like a iron kind of rails kind of built into the rock that you're grabbing onto and going up things, but I don't know, it was pretty scary. Like in one spot for me. Okay, going on a little bit of orange here. And okay, let me see. Here's the area right up here. I wanted to bring a little bit more warmth in this area. Yeah, I think it was in it must have been in September or something like that. I once taught for one of the rubber stamp stores in Maine. I taught in the the ice cream shop that was, I think it was right next door to the store, because the ice cream shop had closed for the season. So, the store owner had worked out with the store, getting that space for, 1 or 2 days or something like that while I was there, which I always thought was cool. I always liked how, um, I don't know, people, that like that ice cream shop was open, during certain parts of the season. Um, there was another store that I taught at, stamp store, It wasn't really a stamp store though. It was really kind of it was a tanning salon that had stamps in it too. So I don't know, I just thought like it was just I don't know, it was like the maximization of times and things like that for the stores out there and people. I really liked that. I always thought that was cool. Okay, so there's a little bit more of that tone up there, so it's a little bit of richer tone coming up from top, so it's just not so stark, whatever that was, walnut stain up there. And I think I am going to add in these little fences like this in here. And hope that they apply nicely to the I mean, in theory, they would go around this, like if it was like a, whatever, Redwood National Park or something like that. But I'm just going to add these down because I usually add foreground in here, like a little brush or something like that. But in this kind of area like that, there's not a lot of this, like brush everywhere a lot of times. So I don't know. Let me see this right here. Okay, I'm thinking about doing this in the stays on too. And yeah, we'll just see how it goes. So I think it'll give it my theory is that it could potentially give a little bit of a kind of compositional structure to this base area down here. And again, it's kind of to represent scale or to reiterate scale. Like, oops, let me see here. There we go. All right, if this doesn't stamp out on that wax, then we'll add in that foreground, a bush. Oh, it went right on that, no problem. See that right there? All right, just that, and then I have the smaller version, but coming in from the right side, that'll be over here. All right, so you have those two kind of little passageways like that. I don't know, I think it kind of reiterates scale and, how big these trees are supposed to be by having that in there like so. And again, it's interesting. There's like a few spots on that fence there where the stays on went over the top of that and it lifted off a couple of the little paint pen dots that were applied down there. It like peeled them off of that. Okay, so let's see. We'll go back in with, where did it go? Oh, here we go. This rock stamp here. And this area out here is dark, so I'm going to come in. I'm going to hit it with the Marvy. The Marvy probably isn't going to adhere to some of this, a lot of that waxy colored pencil buildup. I don't know. I can see it down there. I don't know if you can see it right here. Okay. So again, this will give it a little bit more structure down here too by having kind of these darker forms too. Okay, this I don't know. It seems like it's applying over the top of the colored pencil. Okay, at least in the value that I need it to. I don't need it to be like super crisp impressions of these rocks over here, but I don't know. It applied down there. It might be sitting on top of that where if you just kind of wipe it with your finger even after it dries, maybe it wipes off, but I'll spray seal this anyways. Oh, by the way, I went in, I gave this guy some, this little character, some blue jeans in here with a little bit of bluish tinge. I'm sure you can't see that as small as that is right there, but maybe I'll give him this little kid, I'll give him like a red shirt here. The days of going out and hiking with a little kid are over for me. But my high school son just said recently, he goes, "We got to go camping." And he says he wants to go out to Death Valley again. I took him and he and his couple of his friends out to the sand dunes out there a couple years ago. He wants to get some interesting, like a parkour kind of a backflip, photographs out there in the dunes. I took him and his a couple of his friends out there to sleep out in the sand dunes. No tent needed, but they were game to do that. And we did, because that's what I used to do when I used to go out there with my friends like 20 years ago. And there's still that, the national parks are just so crowded these days, but, people aren't usually out like at nighttime still, so there was no one out there, at nighttime, kind of a mile off the, away from the cars too. All right, so I think that is it. Let's see. I'm on kind of like some finishing touches here. Let me use a little bit of the white kind of in here just to make it a little bit more shimmery, I guess. Linda, I love this not so simple scene. It's simple in some ways, though, huh? I guess it's just if okay, so we can do this right here on a quarter page card. I think it's the scale of it that's kind of adding to the well, I mean, it's definitely the time. It's like I guess it's like two cards here. And the certainly the colored pencil aspect of it, right? It's just a lot faster to color in with, all dye-based inks or something like that. Which normally that's what I'm doing, dye-based inks. I don't know, maybe not. I don't know, that's not the case anymore. I'm not sure where I am. I'm just I'm doing just so much kind of like experimentation. If I'm doing something where I'm thinking of a new composition, um, and I don't know, just a different type of design configuration or something like that, that's probably still something where I'm going to do it on like a glossy cardstock and dye-based inks or something like that. But other than that, I don't know, the semi-gloss maybe is more my thing. And again, it's as much about availability than anything in doing this channel here. I would say by and large, if people do have access to glossy cardstock, though, in terms of impact. Okay, if, let's say we're stamping something out for someone, and whether they've seen cards from you or not, okay, I would think that, with all of us as card makers and whatnot, I find that the glossy cardstock, even when I'm posting a scene, maybe, it probably gets a little bit more attention than a matte. It's just, that's just the way it is out there in the world. Anyone that's in advertising or something like that, selling books, or you're trying to get people to go to your movie. All those things are printed on glossy cardstock. It's just simply the most color saturation and contrast possible on the glossy. It just, it's an attention getter, like business cards. And, unless someone's just going counter to that, and they want something a little bit more tactile, like a matte or something like that, which is cool too. But just in terms of visual impact, it's all about the, saturation and contrast, and that's where glossy comes into play. But I like the saturations of the pencils here on this one. But yeah, it's just not going to match up with like a super, bright. I'm looking around here if I have something that's super bright, but yeah, it's hard to beat the glossy for that purpose. But I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to think if I need anything else in here. I'm gonna do some little white pigment ink types of applications in here now, as long as everything is reasonably dry, and I think it all is. I'm using my used cotton ball here because it's already nice and smashed down and matted. I can get like one more use out of it usually. But okay, so these areas, there's not a lot of areas that are light in here, okay? So I'm not going to use it too, in too many areas right here, but kind of right in here is the opportunity for it, okay? Like I wouldn't add too much of it over here because that's in a dark region right there. And, if you had a little white down there, it would probably stand out a little bit too much unless you use quite a bit of it. So that being said, just use a very light touch like that, okay? And this just could be, it could be fog, but I think on this one, I just want it to kind of look more like light is hitting, some of these objects in a certain way, rather than looking like a foggy, effects or something like that. Okay, so maybe down here, some of the, over here, maybe it got a little bit too dark in some of that, so that's kind of make it a little bit hazier, like that. See up here, that area is kind of light up there, so I think a little touch of it up there would kind of be interesting. And again, the lighting is kind of coming from above here, so by adding some of this on that side of the tree, kind of reiterates that idea of that lighting back there. And this is kind of pushing it back in the distance a little bit more too. See this just little bit on the side of this. Here, let me put a little bit right here too. See, just a little bit on that side of that tree like that. I don't know, it just brings a little bit of light into it. Or textural, it's like light and a little bit of a texture variation. Yeah, it looks softer. I'll just kind of break this up a little bit here with a little bit of light too. Let's see, let's go up here, and that's a little bit too much right here. I'll put a little bit in between these two characters here. Probably a Q-tip would be a better thing to use there, but yeah, that looks pretty good. See that little bit of light on there? You know, so you have it right there, and it's right there. It's a little bit of a glowing little tinge. I mean, it's just this little bit, but I don't know. I guess it's not insignificant either. I think it shows up pretty well. I'll put a little bit on this fence here, like it's going into the light right here. I can put a little bit of a highlight like that on that fence there, but I don't think it really needs it. All right, so that's that little kind of glowing light, soft light corridor. I guess that's what I'm often doing. It's a soft light corridor in the scenes quite often. It kind of makes it glow a little bit more. It's like a enveloping light, a real welcome light, you know, just because it's so soft looking. All right, so that is that right there, and I cut this down a little bit so that I'd have a little bit of a leeway to kind of mat it, around something like this. So I'll put a little bit of a matting on it, and I'll probably have something like black out here, and it'd look like something like this in terms of kind of a general mat like that, maybe. I think would look good. Just, something simple like that. With a little bit of a, maybe go a little bit thinner like that, or something like that. Yeah. I do that little white like that is usually to reiterate the little white kind of highlights that I have in certain objects around in here, so. All right, so anyways, yeah, I don't know what the good title for this one would be. A Wonk Amongst the Giants. Or something like that. Peak foliage season is around the second week of... I was wondering if it was October. I thought that's when it might have been when I was out there in the past. October stood out to me for some reason. But I was wondering if that was too late, But yeah, I don't know. That's what I don't know. Like I said, I think the name. I need to ask. Sometimes the owners of Penn Ventures have been on the live streams. Harold and Linda Hodgkins, and I need to ask them when that convention took place out there. Must have been October then, because that's when I was hiking at peak color, according to the ranger that was doing some trail maintenance on that trail out there. So, yeah. But it depends on how much rain you get during the summer. Ah, got it. Well, it wouldn't be a full month earlier, would it? I don't know. October always stood out to me, but then I started thinking maybe I was just imagining that, and it was an earlier month, in terms of that peak color. But anyway, here's peak color in our scene here. All right, folks. I hope you have a great rest of week and Thanksgiving weekend. I'll be back on sometime. Oh, maybe, I don't know, whatever, next week sometime, probably. I think we get back into town. I think we got to get back early this time, but like Friday night, so I'll probably be completely zombied out on Saturday and Sunday after driving, the driving we're going to be doing, and through Los Angeles traffic to get up north of there tomorrow. I just hope it's not an 8-hour drive that's normally like 4.5, but potentially. But anyway, you missed the leaves hanging down from the top. Yeah, we could do those, but I don't know in this format here. So if we're doing this like with this big tree right here, where it's not supposed to represent, whatever, 100, 200, I don't know how tall the sequoias are. Are they? They're not. They're not too. They're like 100 feet, right? Yeah, something like that would be kind of interesting, huh, Linda? We can have I don't know, like some yellowish leaves or something like that from aspens, or have like a big um, area of leaves right here or something like that. I still haven't figured out how to do the lighter foreground leaves right over the top of the darker trunks or something like that. We can just have them as in there like that. I want to have some of those lighter leaves in the foreground instead of always having to go kind of darker like that with the foreground elements. Light foreground elements would be really cool. And I thought maybe we can do that with embossing, but I don't think we could. It was the embossing things were too. What were they? They were, I don't know. They were coming out transparent, I think it was. So the things underneath were showing. I don't know. I need to figure it out somehow. Maybe you have to do like an emboss in white or something like that, and then you do it again right over the same thing in color, and then emboss those again or something like that. So it's like you're kind of doing a like a block out impression with that. And then maybe we'd have to like block it out and like stamp it out in like I don't know, using stamps with like wall primer or something like that, like a water based like Kills or something like that. Like a paint primer, and then just try to match it up again right over the top of it and stamp with a dye based ink or something like that, and then hit it with or I don't know, like a colored pigment ink, I guess it would be in this case, like a yellow pigment ink or something like that, and then clear emboss or something like that. Or embossing with color, do you think doing that? I thought those things would show through. If like you embossed, if you stamped down here and then you did like a yellow embossing pattern, wouldn't that trunk just show right through the leaves, once you embossed it? Or would it be opaque? Or does it matter on the powders used? Yay! Linda, you're awesome. That's why when these live streams, someone will ask me, I'll say, I don't know, do that, because I want to know too. There's too much media out there. Of course, if it works, Linda, that's something that we're going to have to start utilizing, in our scenes as yet another technique and application, to add on to the myriad of other ones, kind of that we keep adding on, you know, and not removing others. All right. Have a good night, everyone. Thanks so much for joining in. Good to see you. For those in the background, thanks so much for joining in. And yeah, I enjoyed this one. I really like using these foamies here, and these larger format pieces I don't know, they're kind of a blast to see. It's just something different in terms of scale coming off of my desk here and developing before my eyes and whatnot. And I don't know. It seems like it. I don't know. I guess it stimulates creativity because you start thinking about things, not so much in a real different way, but it's just maybe in terms of compositions or something like that, or how to utilize the stamps in a little bit of a different way, just due to scale. I don't know, maybe they're more. I don't know. It's a larger stamp, so it's more prominent. So just spending a little bit more time on the color or something like that than just dye-based inks too, which I love. But I don't know. I think doing these in the colored pencils like that just add a little bit more variation, I guess. And I don't know. Maybe that's the part of it that these larger formats are kind of I don't know, whatever, inspiring for me. Okay, so it would be with opaque with the powders. That would be cool. Uh, we'll see how it turns out because, you'll post it on Facebook. All right. Good night, everyone. Good night, Linda. Good night, Marta. And anyone that's checking this out, thanks so much again for joining in. And we'll see you, hopefully, in a live stream again, whenever that might be in a few days.